Hello, Life Groups. Thank you so much for taking time to gather today and to discuss this past weekend's message. And this past weekend was Palm Sunday, and the week that follows Palm Sunday commemorates some of the most important events in history and the things that took place before the crucifixion and the resurrection. In this past weekend's message, we look at three important events that take place and the tension that surrounds them. The first event was Jesus being anointed with oil in Bethany, just a few miles east of Jerusalem. And in John chapter 12, while Jesus was eating with Lazarus, who Jesus had raised from the dead, and along with Martha, and then Mary, the sister of Martha and Lazarus, takes this pint of expensive perfume and pours it on the feet of Jesus and then begins to wipe his feet with her hair. Now let's put ourselves into this story here for just a moment. Jesus is eating, and this woman takes a very expensive perfume and empties it on Jesus. And as you can imagine, there's awkward silence. But then Judas breaks the silence by questioning her motive. This, after all, was a very expensive perfume, and it could have been sold, and that money could have been given to the poor, but Jesus rebukes Jesus. This was planned all along for my burial, Jesus said. You'll always have the poor, but you will not always have me. The second event is Jesus riding into Jerusalem as king. The Passover was this huge celebration where thousands of Jews who didn't live in Jerusalem would converge on the capital city to celebrate the upcoming Passover weekend. In Luke 19, Jesus sends two disciples into the city to get the donkey colt ready, fulfilling a prophecy from Zechariah chapter 9. Matthew, Mark, and John all record that people didn't just spread their coats and cloaks on the ground, but they took palm branches, hence the name Palm Sunday. And as he entered the city, the whole crowd began to shout, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory in the highest." And as Jesus approached the city, he began to weep over it. He knew full well that just in a few days, the cheers of Hosanna would quickly change to chants of crucify him. And throughout all of this, there's this tension. There's tension with the Roman government, who hated when Jews converged on the city because they were a threat. And there's tension with the Pharisees. The third event happens in a place where Jews were allowed to worship, a place that was supposed to be a place of honoring God, the temple. Matthew, Mark, and John all record this event as well, and Jesus enters the temple and begins to drive out all who were buying and selling there. He overturned tables. He was angry. He points to two Old Testament passages in Isaiah and Jeremiah where it talks about how people would turn the temple into a place of corruption. Tension is everywhere. Jesus is angry. The religious people are angry. The money changers who were ripping people off were angry. And the Romans were angry. All of this tension, all of these events point us and lead us to what would eventually be the crucifixion of Jesus. But as we often say here, the crucifixion and the death of Jesus is never the end of the story. Enjoy your discussion today.